Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is David and welcome to Astronomical Questions. On today's show we're going to talk about the Skymax 127. This is the telescope, and we're going to talk about kind of the features that it has and also kind of what I've added to it after using it. So this is a 127 millimeter Skywatch or Skymax 127. It's 127 millimeters in diameter and has a focal ratio of f12 at 1500 millimeters. So it's quite zoomed in. So for people that don't really know, basically the larger the f number, the more zoomed in you are. So if it's the focal length, basically, the larger the focal length, the more zoomed in you are. So basically, this telescope is quite zoomed in. If you had the moon basically in focus, it would basically be like the moon is like this, and you basically just see a small kind of chunk of the moon in the middle. So that's kind of like the kind of so-called kind of field of view that you see. So I've basically had this now for a couple of months now, and I basically will go through kind of what I have done to it and basically what I kind of can see through it. So we'll start off basically just at the front. So as you can see, basically this has it's different than an SCT. So an SCT has kind of this obstruction in the center, whereas this one does as well, except it's a smaller obstruction. So an SCT has roughly a 33% obstruction in the center, whereas this has about 22 to 25% obstruction. And instead of having just like a secondary mirror, this actually has it's like a concaved mirror, kind of a thick piece of glass that it's concaved, and it's the entire thickness kind of the. So if you see it, it's the entire thickness of this white band, basically is glass. And so basically, what that means is that the contrast or the sharpness of the image is basically far superior than an SCT, meaning that this is a killer for when it comes to things like the moon and the planets, and even deep sky, very bright deep sky objects. So basically, we'll just keep the thing on so that it doesn't get dirty. Um, so this is put on a what's known as an alt-as mount. So I'll just show basically. So the alt-as mount is basically, this is the AZGTI mount. So it's basically a go-to tracking mount that can basically, on the phone, you can use an app and you can track objects in the night sky. You can also find objects in the night sky using the app. And I think there's like 10,000 objects that are in the database that the app comes with. So basically, this is a very, very sturdy tripod. The pillar basically came with it as well. This is just an extension pillar, so it just so that if you have a longer telescope, it doesn't basically hit the bottom, the legs. Basically, just doesn't hit that. So you're just protecting the telescope. Now, if this telescope isn't too bad, if I just turn it around to the back part like this, so basically, this one doesn't. It's short enough basically that it won't hit the so-called the legs basically. So what I've attached is basically I have a different basically a different prism at the bottom here basically than what came with the telescope. The main thing is basically that the one that comes with the telescope is good for a beginner, but if you want to get a bit more kind of imagery, or if you want to get a bit more kind of sharpness in the image, you can buy your own ones basically for €100 basically. The lens that we have on it, basically the eyepiece, is a what we call a zoom eyepiece. So basically it just kind of zooms in and out like this. So we can go from different ones, so from 21 millimeters to 7 millimeters. So what that allows you to do is, especially in say star parties and stuff like that, what it allows you to do is it allows you to magnify, say if you're looking at the planets or something like that, without having to change eyepieces. So you can do it very quickly if you're in a star party or something like that. The other thing you'll notice is basically the red, what we call basically a red mini computer. It's the ASIR Plus. So what it allows me to do is it allows me to use my camera and tripod and all that kind of stuff, and the ASI, the mount, and I can control it all from an app on my phone. So it means basically that everything is automated, and so it really helps with timing and stuff like that. And you can plug everything into this. So that's brilliant. It has an antenna, obviously, if you can see the antenna. And so it's an incredible thing to have. It stores up to about 256 gigs of storage, so it's plenty to get started. This is what astrophotographers use. Basically, if they want to do a full imaging rig or an imaging night, basically, and they want to get it all done really quickly, this is the thing they use. The best thing, I think, basically just talking about the telescope again. So it's a 127mm, so it's large enough, and it's zoomed in enough that you can see things very clearly, like the planets and the moon, and you get great imagery of, for example, the belts on Jupiter. You get to see what's it called, the bands around Saturn, so the rings and stuff around Saturn. I was able to see things like Neptune and Pluto, or not Pluto, sorry, Neptune and Ceres. So it's like a dwarf planet, and many other things. The other thing as well, obviously, is that it is okay for deep sky objects, but because of basically the 12, the focal ratio, or the f12 focal ratio, 12 is not good for deep sky, so it's not very fast at collecting light. Whereas if you had something maybe like, say, 8 or 10, or maybe 8 or 5, even 5 or 4, they'd be basically the best kind of ones for light. So yes, but it's an incredible telescope to have. Now, if you want deep sky astrophotography and you want to basically take imagery, you can with this telescope, but it's limited. It can track the night sky and it can do all that, but you would need maybe like an equatorial telescope. So instead of having it on its side, it would be up like this. So instead of having it like this, you'd have it like on basically like pointing towards Polaris, the North Star, and that would then give you a much easier way of getting deep sky astrophotography, longer exposures. So this telescope is phenomenal, basically, for what I've actually been doing with it. Basically, that's basically for visual and for planetary astronomy or astrophotography. So imaging like, say, Jupiter, Saturn, the moon, that kind of stuff. The only thing obviously that keeps you from not imaging is kind of like the weather, because we're in Ireland, so the weather isn't the best. We are getting a bit of better weather now this week, because there's going to be like a summer kind of heat wave that's coming through. So basically, yeah, I hope to get some images now this kind of week. But this telescope is brilliant though, because it's very light. You know what I mean? It's very light and portable. I also have actually some other stuff here as well. So I also have this, which is, maybe you can see that, maybe the other way around. But basically this is a heat shield. So basically it's known as a dew shield. And so this kind of goes on the front of the telescope like this. And what it's used for is it's used to get the dew on these kind of telescopes, because these telescopes dew up a lot. So what it does basically is it kind of stops that from happening. It can also cut light out of the it can also cut the light that is like stray light from, like, say, light bulbs and houses and street lamps, if you're in a light polluted area. So that's kind of what I have that for. I also have a camera which is downstairs, and I do have a filter wheel which I'm trying to learn how to use. It's a bit finicky, but overall I think it's pretty good. And I'm quite enjoying it, actually, learning how to use kind of gear that's kind of a little, it's like a step up kind of from kind of a traditional push telescope, basically, where you have to push it yourself. And so yeah, no, I think I'll be sharing a few clips basically in the next couple of weeks, hopefully, with all the stuff that I'm getting, you know what I mean. I do have a few things on Astrobin at the moment, or I'm trying to upload a few of them on Astrobin. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks I should get a few more. I would like to get more of the planets, especially with this ASIR Plus. I hope to get some more of the planets. I'd like to get the moon because that's coming through now in the next couple of days. So that it's starting to kind of go above the horizon again and start to come up to like half moon, full moon, and then second phase of the moon. So I will kind of do another video on this basically, and I might actually do a video of me recording of myself doing the actual astrophotography, and maybe showing kind of the process of how to actually do stuff with like Registax and with the other stuff like PIP and even using Syrup Cap and stuff like that. But I'll also show basically about like the ASIR Plus, how to use the app on that, and I'll try and learn. I'm learning as I'm going, so I'll try and learn how to post how to do that basically. So I hope you're all doing well, and I think that's all I have for this video anyways. It's a brilliant telescope. If anybody wants a telescope, it is a brilliant telescope to get. The Wi-Fi isn't the best for the actual mount, so I would have gotten a better mount. The AZGTI it's a bit finicky, but if you point it at say two different stars and then basically point it to say the moon or to Jupiter or to another object, it should go to it. It should. It is a bit finicky, but you will get used to it after a while. It does take time. The other thing that takes time is the focal length. So at 1500 millimeters, you are quite zoomed in. So what I've done is I've actually bought a 0.5 reducer. It's a 1.25 inch. So basically, what happened, you basically just screw it straight into the to the telescope itself, and it does all. It basically cuts the focal length in half. It cuts the f ratio in half from f12 to f say 5.9. It cuts the thing then to 750 millimeters. So you can basically like basically the target size basically would be like, or the field of view is basically doubled. So basically you can see twice as much in the field of view that you could see with say its native focal length of 1500 millimeters, which brings you a lot more targets that you can frame up in a better way, basically, or in a nicer way. So I'm going to try and see if I can do that now on this week, because this week is going to be a heat wave and it's going to be really clear skies. So hopefully I'll be able to kind of get some targets. My hope is to get the Rosette Nebula and maybe to get something like the Horsehead Nebula. If I could get those two targets, we'll basically be in the races. And I will post any results that I have up on Astrobin. It's Astro Dave. Just put in Astro Dave Astrobin and it should come up. So anyways, I hope you're all doing well, and I'll see you all in the next one. Hopefully it's not as long ago as my other videos were, but so I will basically give you all a post when I'm going to post another video, and so I will see you all in the next one. Until then, clear skies and happy stargazing.